It's a quiet, early morning, the perfect time for a hot brew of coffee. Making the coffee, you shake out the last few drops from the milk bottle. You give the bottle a good rinse and put it into a recycling bag. After you put your recycling on the curb, the local council comes by to pick it up. It would then get sorted and shipped to Thailand or Malaysia. But then, what happens next to the milk bottle? The plastic gets dumped in villages, left to pollute waterways or burned in open fires. Once we send our trash overseas, we don't know what happens next. We need to be accountable for our own waste. New Zealand ranked the second worst country for packaging recyclability. Clearly, there is something wrong with our recycling. And that became even clearer in 2018 when China stopped taking our plastics, leaving hundreds of tons of plastic with nowhere to go. So what can we do with plastic that is just waiting to be recycled? How can we create a demand for these plastics within our own national market? With hydrothermal liquefaction, we can turn this plastic trash into treasure. Hydrothermal liquefaction, or HTL for short, is basically using really hot and high pressure water to get plastic to melt into crude oil. The HTL process uses water in the supercritical state. When water reaches hot temperatures and high pressures, the liquid and gas phase have identical properties. There are two reactions in HTL. In the first reaction, the heat energy causes the polymers to split into smaller polymers. The second reaction is when hydrogen donation from the water completes these oil molecules. After a reaction time of only an hour, researchers achieved a 90% yield of oil from polypropylene and high-density polyethylene. Polystyrene had a lower yield of 38%. Experimentation is still happening to find the optimal conditions to produce the most oil. The oil is then extracted by adding dichloromethane and then filtered out using various methods. And now you're left with a high-quality oil that can be used for fuel or plastic production. And the recycling industry is just starting to move. The first ever commercial HTL plastic recycling plant is opening next year in the UK. It'll be able to process 20,000 tons of plastic waste per year. The Australian company designing the plant, Licella, have only patented the specific processes used within the plant, so the HTL process itself will be free to use. If we were to build our own HTL plant in New Zealand, the plant should be next to a recycling centre, because a major cost is the transportation of plastics. There'll be no shortage of supply to feed the plant, as New Zealanders consume 735,000 tonnes of plastic packaging every year. Now let's talk about the cost. Based on a proposed HTL plant in the US, it would cost $2.5 million USD to build the plant, but the potential for financial return is great. The cost for petrol is $3.50 USD per gallon. From their HTL plant, they aim to produce the same amount of energy in a gallon of fuel just for $3 USD. Oil from HTL may prove to be competitive or even cheaper than petrol. With HTL, we can turn less wanted plastic waste into valuable oil while also making a potential profit. We want to transition to a circular economy, but we can go a step further, a donut economy. Reimagined by Tiana Balsa-Dean, this multi-economic model places environmental issues at the center. Environmental issues should be at the heart of our economy. When we draw focus to these issues, the power spirals to the center and rebounds outward to give us a regenerative economy and benefits to our social well-being. HTL is a solution that fits the goal of the donut economy. It's a solution that doesn't just aim to provide a circular balance, but could potentially extract plastic from the environment to produce a regenerative effect. And once we lower our contribution to plastic pollution through HTL, we can reap the economic benefits through the generation of a sustainable oil. And the donut model shows that we'll be able to see benefits through the clean energy and work and income, which will benefit all other parts of our social well-being. With some really hot and high pressure water, we can turn our trash into treasure. Thank you.